Hi there. Welcome back to our home. Come on in. You're probably thinking, well, wait a second, I've already seen the home tour. I'll provide a link if you haven't. But what we did notice was in the comment section of the home tour, there were a lot of questions about design, decor. Did you do this yourselves? Did you hire somebody? If you did, you paid them too much? No, a lot of questions about design and decorating, and especially two people coming together, especially if the taste can be a little bit different. How do you make that happen? How do you combine color palettes, style, and make a home feel like yours and have a nice design aesthetic as well? And I definitely apply some design rules, and Vic and I worked in tandem throughout this house to make the selections together, which was lovely because we both checked off everything that you see behind me. But I just want to, and have Vic, he's on the other side of the camera, but he'll chime in as well. Talk about some of the choices that were made in this house. You know, you've clearly seen my taste evolve and change dramatically over the years. I have always admired and loved design aesthetic, whether it was traditional, old world, contemporary. I admire and appreciate it all, and in fact could see myself in a lot of those different settings. So I was never fully locked into one way, one look, one aesthetic. That's it. Nothing else speaks to me. A lot of things spoke to me, and it was really, really exciting to be able to explore a contemporary. So let us kind of walk through and share some of the choices we made and why. I have to share, the day this house went on the market, we were in here along with about 10 other people. I mean, we knew this was going to go quickly, and it was a home that spoke to us on so many levels. If we would have designed a house on our own, we really believe that we would have come up with something very similar to this. It's a warm contemporary, and what I mean by that is this entryway is a perfect example of that. I mean, first of all, the color of the walls, plaster, kind of a light grayish white. You have all of these hard materials, metal, rods, black, lacquered black and gray. Everything in here is very, very hard. But what I love about the builder of this house and what they did, if you come over here and you look through that top window up there, you can see that there's some wood. So you get this warm, natural aesthetic. It almost reminded us sometimes when you go to Mexico, some of the resorts have a contemporary look to it with touches of wood. And we really, really love that warmth. So in deciding what was going to go here, playing off of the wood. So when you stand here and when it's brighter daylight, you see the wood is brighter. And this could be a very dark area here. So we went with something that had a wicker and some natural elements to it, and decided to illuminate under the staircase with something that would bring some warmth. And when you stood back, you could also see this tie-in of the wicker, the wood, and then even in the art selection that we went with, we thought, well, we could go with something really bright and colorful, but we knew that a lot of color elements were going to happen in the living room. So we stuck with more of a neutral palette here. So this was a piece that spoke to us on many levels. First of all, it's just a beautiful figure, but the colors, Vic gets his blue, I get my browns, and it's a nice happy medium, and also a subtle way of what's to come. We went with something just very, contemporary, linear, and the pieces that we selected, again, I wanted something that had that natural wood there with the brown and the bronze. And so there's bronze, wood, and wicker. And then I know you saw the cross that Vic made for this area up here in the nook. This is a really tricky spot because it's a very long rectangular area. So we looked online and in different stores to try to find something that would work there. Nothing would. And as you know, Vic wound up making that piece, which is probably, I would say definitely my favorite piece in this house.
Well, as she said, it's a very interesting shaped nook, and not just anything would fit. So I found a place in town that sells old, very, very old weathered wood, and sanded off all the dirt. And then you can see it's got so much great personality and texture. but we wanted to give it a contemporary feel. So I bought these L-shaped pieces of aluminum, and then mounted them just to give it more of a contemporary. And again, the metal and the wood is just such a beautiful combination.
If you saw the home tour, obviously you saw the cross and just how special of a piece that is to me. But what you haven't seen is something that we just created. And I love this wall. Is such a happy wall. I laugh and I smile every time I come up here. You guys, these are mixed tiles, and they were a podcast sponsor of mine, and tried them out, and we absolutely love them because it's all magnetized, made out of these boards, magnet on the wall, and this can just literally peel right off. So no holes, nothing. And then boom, you get to just sort of place what you want. So we decided to fill this wall, literally barely leave, an half an inch here and there of our love story and our first date up there and funny moments in Paris, Ireland, our child, my child.
My adopted furry son.
Exactly. Just precious, precious fun memories. And then you can always switch them out, order a new one. So I love that. This was affordable. We were thinking about maybe getting some kind of a wall art sculpture, big piece here. And then we started playing around with this, and this just became the answer, and a great place to display photos as well. It's just kind of a focal point as you come up and go into the theater, which you all have seen in the home tour already. So,
okay,
this living room.
I'm not behind the camera anymore.
He's not. I thought we needed to be together to talk about this living room because this rug was the starting point, honestly, for everything. You already had this large
the one
couch.
piece actually.
Well, two.
That made it. Well, yeah, pianos are kind of generic, but like the one piece that made it from my old house was this couch. And it's funny is it just barely fit
at the other place.
Yeah, you had to jump over it to get to the next room, but it worked perfectly in here, and I was so glad that she liked it and thought we could use it here. And it worked out really nice. It works well in this space.
The biggest discussion was, like I said earlier, the merging of colors. His other house, his studio was royal blue, and then the dining room was like a mustard yellow, and then there was like a teal color. So it was these really, really strong, bold colors. And
actually, it wasn't mustard yellow. It was Star Trek Command Gold.
Or mustard yellow.
Much more distinguished than mustard yellow, Even when she says it, there's kind of this
negative connotation.
Ew. And, I should point out too, you see these posts here on this couch. Well, they were a brushed silver. And then when we bought this table and started adding gold accents, I thought, man, those don't really fit. Mm-hmm. So I found some gold adhesive-backed contact paper that was a chrome gold, and I covered them with it. Worked out good. Suddenly, it matches better.
Yeah, it worked. No, it worked out perfectly. We looked and looked and looked for rugs. We settled on this rug because it checked, again, the boxes that needed to be checked. I wanted to honor him and his love of blue. Granted, maybe not bright royal blue, so he was willing to sort of tone it down a little bit in the blue shade. And I always, and blue is a cool color, and I tend to gravitate toward warmer colors. So when we saw this rug, orange and peach is, if you look at a color wheel, it's the opposite of blue. So it is
They're complementary
They are
colors.
a complementary color. And then I also love the fact that I got my Oscar puke green.
That is kind of a command gold right there.
A little bit with more green.
I must say.
So I felt like this was the perfect mix of color, a little bit more subtlety, and some neutral. So this was a fun area for me to play and design, and Vic basically gave me free rein. We weren't taking any of the teal or black pillows from his other house over here. So since we were using this rug as inspiration, I started to look at some of the colors in the rug and how could we have fun with pillows. And there are a couple of things, and this is such a great design rule, is to mix fabrics and make it interesting that way. So here's like a big, as Vic would say, command gold, or, as I say, Oscar puke brown in a velvet. And this is a little bit more of a sheen, a solid, a print, different sizes. This was beautiful. This just looked like art. And that's what I love about decorative pillows these days, is that they're so not neutral. I mean, remember the day the pillows came with the couch and that's all that you used? Well, now you get to have fun and really played around with, this beautiful satin pillow and the pattern, and then the same over here.
And I'd like to point out that this couch had these great little compartments in it. I really had no idea what their purpose was.
I think it was a drink holder for cocktails.
Now, except that they're angled, so the drink would slide backwards.
It's fascinating.
And so
I don't know.
It's a perfect place to put our reading book.
We do. So our
look, Starry Night's on the screen behind you.
Oh,
Yay.
that's his favorite.
Perfect.
So we put our devotionals here and we pull those out and we read here in the corner, as you well know. I do want to touch on this coffee table. When you have a couch of this size, scale is really important. This is an open space, large room. When you walk in, this is a massive fireplace with the tile, it's dark, it's wide, and then you have a dark floor, and then Vic's, big dark piano, and then this big arcing white couch. We knew that we couldn't put some little coffee table in here, that something was going to have to be a standout to complement what was happening on this side of the room. So we went through, this actually was not our first coffee table. I think we ordered 1 or 2 and they just didn't work. And just like the piano to me is a piece of art, it's beautiful with this black lacquer and the gold or the brass. When we saw this on Paragold, we thought, that's kind of interesting. It has a bit of a 70s, 80s vibe to it. It could either work really well or be really cheesy. We weren't sure. So when we got it and put it together, we thought, wow, that's big. And when we brought it into this room, the temptation is to make everything kind of horizontal and parallel. So we did that and it took up a lot of space and it looked kind of boring. And then we started to move it. And when we hit this angle, we thought, wow, okay, that's cool, because that makes this table like a piece of art that's now at a different angle than everything else, which creates interest. Scale-wise, it fits what's happening across the way with the piano in the wall. We have a frame TV, which we have displaying art all the time in the house, so we get beautiful pops of color against that wall. And then came the decision of how to decorate the coffee table. And again, it's a combination, and I love this too, of sort of old and new. I love the book because of the scale of it. And the little orange piece gets some height being elevated on that. This was a gift. This little incense candle is something Holly gave me, and this was a piece of art. She's like, Dee, I got it because it reminded me of your lips. I'm like, girlfriend, that's Styles. That's not me. So that's neat. It has a story. And then we thought, well, you see through this, so underneath, why not put something? And these are coffee table books that I had in Houston in my apartment, so they're sentimentality. It's interesting and everything has significance and meaning and is useful. And let's talk about on the other side of the room. Courtney was like, when you do this video, tell everybody the colors and why you did like the blue side and the orange side. And I honestly don't know, but I'll tell you. So we love the fact, again, that they chose wood for the shelving here to, again, break up the coolness of, hard walls, hard structures, and black and white and all of that. So, okay, so now comes the decision of what to put. And, I'm searching Wayfair and Paragold. By the way, most accessories on this house came from either Wayfair or Paragold, probably Paragold more. So these two, the previous owners had, and we purchased some pieces from them like these and the end tables and the lamps, and we're going to talk about lighting in a bit too. So we already had these, and I didn't want them in the way because I love the flow. I don't want to break the flow of a room and start cluttering it. So we popped these over here, and you can pull them out anytime if you have, extra guests coming for seating. So once I put those here, and I had already ordered some things, I already had this book. I found this collection which really spoke to both me and Vic. Pray, manifest, hustle, thank God, repeat. A candle that was a gift that had some blue in it. My favorite photo of Styles at my going away party at Channel 2. He's wearing a blue suit and he spoke, and it just touched me so. It was just a very proud mom moment, so that photo is very special. Found that sculpture online. And then I found this Ritz Paris. This was a print that I got on Etsy, and I ordered it in large, and then went to like Hobby Lobby, framed it in that frame. So as everything was here, and you know, you get all your accessories and you start playing and moving, and you're going to see there's an orange side over there. Suddenly all the blue stuff started coming together, and we were like, huh, this is kind of cool having everything over here blue. It's like the blue art side. So we started removing things that had any other color, and we kept it, you know, the blue and white. And I really like it. There's just something different about it. We try not to over clutter. You know, if there were oftentimes things were put here and I would take away and I would say, no, there's too much. So it's just the right balance and simplicity, but just enough. And again, everything having significance and meaning. And on the other side, by Vic's piano, there are some things of significance for him that he can talk about.
First of all, let me say the only reason that I got a black piano was because I couldn't find a royal blue piano. But
Of course.
they may make one. Elton John may have one. Anyway, so some of the things on these shelves are special to me, and I love that my darling, we work together and kind of check good, not so much. That would be great. A couple of things up here. I just love this piece because when I was young and I fell in love with the music of Barry Manilow, he had a record album that had this sculpture on the front. And I thought it was the coolest sculpture, and I had no idea where he got it, where it came from. And so I actually made one. I got clay and I sculpted it and I put it in a kiln, and I had it for a while. And then I found out that there was an Italian artist named Bellini who made this sculpture. And not only was it not just made for Barry Manilow, but I found it available. So I bought one, and that's very special to me. Over on the far end there, I don't know if you can see up high, but that's a ram's horn that I got when I was shooting a film my senior year in college in Israel. I actually got that from the Holy Land. Any picture of Oscar is welcome on any side, on any shelf of our house. It's not a her shelf or my shelf. And then, of course, nothing would be complete without, it might even be out of juice. It probably is.
Oh, because it lights up.
Yeah, but the base lights up, and I don't know if you can see well, but it's an image from my series, and it's kind of a 3D image. So if you get in close, you can actually see, and if you move around it, it actually looks like it's 3D encased
It's
in
very cool. That's too bad the light's
in
not
crystal.
working, huh?
And then just a bunch of other nice pieces. The again, sticking with the orange, complementary to the blue, and
You know what? I found
she
that
found this somewhere. Where did you find this?
at Paragold, of course. And you know why I loved it? Because the faces, especially the profile on the right, reminded me of you when you play piano. And I thought, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, strong jawline, good profile. And I'm like, yeah, that's my darling.
Oh my goodness! Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
And then just a little bit of life.
A little bit of
a
life.
little bit of plant life. You know, you never hurt to have throw a little foliage in here and there, up at the top as well. I feel like that vase. Where'd that vase come from?
That was from your old house.
Yes,
That was like
thank
the one
you.
thing that came.
Two things.
Two things.
The two things made it: the sofa and that vase. Oh, and the ram's horn. And the sculpture.
There you
go. I think I have a little bit more representation than just a couple of things, but everything came together very nicely. And you know, when you love someone and you want to connect and blend and come together, it's fun, and it's actually easy when you want to please someone and they want to please you. And I don't think we really had any arguments or fights about any of the design choices throughout the house. So that was a blessing.
So the last thing that I really want to talk about, and it's my passion and sort of pet peeve when I see it not being utilized well, and that is lighting. Lighting is so important. There is this tendency to rely, I think, too much on overhead lighting. And as you know, everything has changed out to LED lighting, which is a very harsh and cool lighting. And I'm going to show you the difference. Most people don't have dimmer switches, so it's on or off. So you either have like the mosquito killers, that's what I call them because they're that bright, or you have no light whatsoever. And I personally miss the old school warm incandescent lighting. So what we've tried to do, and what I'm a firm believer in, is lighting at different levels. So lamp lighting to me is very, very important, because when you're seated, that's eye level lighting. And I believe that that should be at a lower wattage to create some warmth. I love floor lighting. So we popped in a couple of floor lamps here next to the fireplace, and it provides just a bit of uplight and some interest, and it illuminates dark corners. So wherever there's an opportunity for an uplight, I love it, especially behind plants to cast shadows. Warmer lighting here, these are warmer bulbs, even though it's powered up pretty high. For instance here, these are LED lights, but they're warm, and everything is on a dimmer. So nothing ever rides full brightness. I always keep it midway down. The bulb in there is a warm light as well. These are on the lowest setting. So it creates a warmth and an ambiance to a home that feels inviting. It feels comfortable. I've always said, no matter the style of a house, you want it to feel like someone has just wrapped a blanket around you, and has offered you a cup of cocoa or tea, that it's comfortable. Here's a great example. So, and you'll see the change in just the feel of the room. If I pop on overheads and we go full brightness, it suddenly becomes a very sterile, flat, a little bit of an antiseptic type of a feel. These also, here, like these lights in the hallway. Do you see how the mood just completely changed? And I don't know if the camera shows it as well as you can
it does.
feel it in person, right, baby?
It kind of washes everything out.
Everything gets flat.
They're
right? Our suggestion to you is try your best to avoid the overhead lighting. Get dimmer switches to at least bring the levels down, because it's going to be a cool light, and look for opportunities throughout your home to get lamps at mid-level, floor level, and just different levels, and kick in some warmer LEDs. It will completely change the feel of your home. That's like the biggest tip I could ever give.
And also, I think pools of light make a room seem larger. If you light up a room where every corner is heavily illuminated, it tends to shrink the room down, as opposed to dark areas and dramatic areas.
Yes.
And they also highlight the things you want to highlight.
We'll quickly move into the office. This wall color was a bold choice, and again, it was exploring something that had a little bit more impact. One thing that I love is a feel of masculine and feminine. Just like contemporary and traditional can work very well together, so can masculine and feminine colors and pieces. So this room, to me, is a really good example of that. That is a very kind of bold, masculine feeling wall. This paint color is called Urbane Bronze. Loved it, loved this kind of darkish, grayish, brownish black color. Really intense, and then my baby made the podcast sign for me. And then it was neat to be able to soften the room now with some extra touches, and then pull through some things design-wise that you were seeing in the house. And that's the other important thing is congruence, kind of going from room to room. And I don't mean matchy-matchy, but I also don't mean like diametrically opposed in color, in palette, there's got to be flow, especially when you have an open house like this and you can see other rooms from, where you're sitting. So this rug, for instance, a contemporary rug, had that dark brown color, but also had that softer sort of orange. Now we're back into that, khaki green and the taupe and the tan, bringing a little more femininity out. The choice of the chairs for the podcast room, again, very soft, plush, warm, feminine, velvet throw pillows, again, adding that warmth. My mother's lamp that she had in her apartment. So there's a lot of touch of family in here for me, which is very important. We bought the desk from the previous owner. It was a gentleman who officed in here. So the desk had a little bit of a masculine touch along with that light fixture. So I softened it with my rose bush, and again, bringing in some of that brushed gold. This is an accoutrement of things that are of significance to me. And again, just trimming it with the gold. So the gold sort of continues from our living room into my office. And it's just a tie-in, a little bit of a mix of traditional and contemporary. And then over here is a really, really hard, laminated black painted built-in. So I tried to soften it up as best I could with just family photos. I thought I'd pop in just a tiny bit of red. In every room there's always a touch of an interesting color. So a little bit of red made it in here, along with just awards of significance, I suppose. But that was behind the decision making of the office. And then also having kind of a little crushed velvet fabric for the wall to soften it. So again, this blend of masculine, feminine, hard, and soft sort of defines this room and kind of defines me a little bit. Okay, so this bedroom, Vic had this bed at his other house, and we both loved this bed. It's bombastic, it's massive, it's such an interesting mix. It's one piece with this headboard and such an interesting pattern. And just the cutouts, the angles, the sheen to this, combined with kind of the hardness of this, but yet here we go again with the natural element as well. So when we thought about a bed for this room, we kept thinking, well, gee, your bed is perfect, so let's just sort of go with that. And then the owners took care of the drapery, and they just did it right. First of all, drapes always get hung high, always, 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 and touch the floor. So the colors in the drapes really inspired the choices that we went with in this bedroom. So as you can see, it's like a taupey brown and a gold and a white. So again, there's a bit of uniformity, but it gave us an opportunity to bring in a different color. And that we had fun with on the bed. And because this is such a big, hard piece, again, contrasts are really great. And we decided to soften it up with the choice of bedding. So, just kind of a plush velvet and bringing in fur.
What is that, velvet?
What is that velvet, you say? Yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, darling. Yeah, so just a mix of like furry things and
No
silky
animals
things.
were harmed in the
None,
making of these pillows.
All faux animals, every last one of them. Yeah, so we got to introduce a new color. This is a bit of an eggplant taupe color, which, we hadn't seen, but still, again, honoring the black, white, gold is like the base, right, that you're seeing everywhere. And then we get to throw in something new and different. So that sort of defined this. I love mixing more traditional pieces with contemporary. So we saw these, and again, scale, really, really important. We're tall, we've got a mirror here, so just a tall lamp fit perfectly. And I like how this looks a little bit more old world. Just like the floor to ceiling mirror that you see on the other side is a traditional antique mirror, but it makes it interesting, not having everything so linear and modern. And then this is a little reading nook over here, and we'll sometimes sit. This was an old this was like my only piece of furniture from Houston. This is it. I kid you not. This and my acrylic chair in the bathroom is all I have. We got these from the previous owners, and yeah, just a wonderful sitting area. And then I had this, and this also kind of helped to inspire the colors. This was an Hermes throw. I actually found this on the Real. Got a great price on that. And what a wonderful opportunity. Function is really important in a room as well. I love having a bench at the end of the bed. I can't tell you how many times we actually sit here and we're pulling on shoes, or we've got suitcases here and we're unpacking. So functional, just places to enjoy a room. And that's the thing. A home is to be used and it's to be enjoyed. And sometimes it can be, if you make it too perfect and too done, then you don't get to live in your house. So we love being able to live in it, but still appreciate a design aesthetic. And let's close it out in the bathroom, which I know you guys have seen if you've seen any of the tutorials. So the bathroom, and I'm glad you're seeing it from this angle because it dictated the choice of rug, and we needed a rug in here. This was a very cold, hard space, and it needed some softening, and we really played around with a lot of different rugs. And this one we got very lucky because the color and the texture of it feels and looks very similar to the duvet cover. So again, there's that congruence and that flow from one room to another. It complements, and it added some softness, thickness. It deadened the sound in here. This can be a very hard and cold room. We even went with a very thick rug pad as well to make sure that it doesn't slide around and give it that extra thickness and plushness that it needed. But this bathroom, as cool as it is, and you know, it's cool, there are a lot of very cool and cold tones. So it just needed to be warmed up a bit. And you know me, I love flowers of all kinds. And this house has a combo of faux flowers and real flowers. These I cannot kill, and just again complemented the colors that were in the room. One upgrade we decided to make was these LED mirrors. What a difference it makes when you're getting ready in the bathroom to have this beautiful even light coming at you instead of the overheads casting shadows underneath your eyes. It's so hard to put on makeup that way. And it's nice because these have a little remote, so you can go warm, you can go cooler, just depending on the light that you're trying to dial in. And then of course you can adjust the brightness as well. And for those of us over 50, a little magnifying mirror right here to be able to get those necklaces hooked and the mascara on and, you know, all the details that we want to see or not see. So we'll start to button things up in the dining spaces. And when we first walked into this house, we thought, oh man, this kitchen's getting wasted on these two. You know, this is this is a chef's kitchen, isn't it, baby?
We play hockey in this kitchen. We don't use it for actually cooking. I mean, who does that? Who cooks in here? I don't know.
I don't know. So one thing that we really tried to do was avoid the temptation to overfill and overclutter it and just honor a lot of the design aesthetics that were put into place. Just the choice of this beautiful cabinetry, the backsplash, the fixtures, they speak for themselves. And this was another design rule that I fought to honor, but did, which is not to feel the need to fill negative space. You don't have to fill every nook or cranny or put stuff everywhere. For instance, here's a great example. These are just open shelves. And the temptation might be to put a ton of photo frames or cookbooks or stack a bunch of things, but it takes away from the cleanliness and the linear look of this home. And we've opted to just leave it alone. This dining table we bought from the previous owners. It could not have been more perfect. Lucky Vic, it brought in the blue.
Sweet.
These were my flowers, my faux flowers. Then of course I had to throw in a real plant. It's like, I've got to prove that I, you know, can keep something alive. So that's real.
This came from my other house.
Yeah, that's yours.
In the bedroom of the other house.
And then this came from my house. So it's like his and her art. So this was something else. This was something that I had got in Houston, and this lamp as well. And then we put, this I love. So also with accessories, everything has a story. So Vic, tell everybody about that.
Yeah, when I went to Italy, I talked to my grandmother, Mignana, who was still alive at the time, and she said that I still had relatives that lived in Rome and Napoli. And my grandmother's cousin lived on Via Messina. Says it here. Now, what's special about this is that when I found my second or third aunt, I don't even know, but my relative over there, she didn't speak a lick of English, and I didn't speak a lick of Italian, but we went into her house, and the whole time she was looking around, and she would climb up on the counter and take something and give it to us.
Aww.
They wanted to just shower us with gifts. And this is something that she gave me right off of her counter. It was up on a shelf in their kitchen. And it was funny because it actually, mafioso, it actually says Via Messina, which is the street she lived on. So it was in my other house, in my other kitchen. And it made its way over here too. And I love that Dominique was able to put some flowers in it and make it a part of this kitchen as well.
Yeah, I love it. And then Court gave us this from Bali, which is something that we added to this table as well. Design-wise, I always love the rule of threes. There is something about an odd number that just aesthetically looks better. So I always think about three things, you know, on a table, a coffee table. I just think it gives balance as well as different heights.
I have to tell you something.
What do you think about that,
mister? I'm going to rat on my wife.
What would I do?
And I'm going to tell you, she's serious about this whole rule of threes and not too much, because I'll find something that I think is really nice and I'll sit it here and I'll come back and then I'll walk by the next day and it's gone. And I'm like, what happened to this? She's like, I just didn't want it to look too cluttered. That's happened all over this house. Like, I'll put something somewhere and I'll come back an hour later and she's already removed it because apparently it's too cluttered. And of course, too cluttered, that's kind of a subjective thing, right?
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't
some
think so.
people would think something is cluttered, some people would not. But one thing we have in common is we both love the cleanness and the openness of it. And there's plenty of space and countertops without stuff piled up everywhere. So we're definitely on the same page with that one.
Here's again something I want to share. Again, like I hate overhead bright light. So we pop this as our mudroom. Look at the difference. Okay, there's the mosquito killer. And then just one simple lamp over here that we leave on all the time. And so it illuminates this area. If we ever need to come in here, grab keys, grab a coat. Of course, more mixed tiles featuring our doggy since it's the mudroom.
That was when we were watching a movie together in my old house.
Yeah, he was in the theater room too.
One of my faves.
Yes, pulling him. Oh yeah, and these two, I had these, and they'll recognize this from my apartment in Houston. I had those two pieces of art. And of course, I love Jeremiah 29:11. Okay, story about these guys. My mom's best friend in Houston, Liz, who she had gotten really close to before she passed, she would go over to Liz's house and they would hang out. And Liz actually had these in her living room. And after my mom passed, she sent these to me and she said, I wanted you to have them because your mother always commented on how much she loved them. So there are touches of Audrey all throughout our home. And I said I was going to share light bulbs with you. Here's the light bulb stash. Warm lights. So Relax LED 40 watt. 40 watt. I range anywhere from 40 to 20 watt depending on where it's going. These guys are 25 watt. But everything warm LED, please be on the lookout for that. I promise you it will change the feel of your house. I always make sure I have a good stash because there's nothing worse than when a light bulb dies and you don't have its replacement. So there they are. All right, Oscar's joining the tour. Oh, it got cooler out.
Oh, it sure feels nice.
Cool front as promised. The last thing to touch upon is our outdoor space. And you'll notice, of course, the warmth of the orange coming through here. We just got this. I don't know how much I've shot out here. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't. Love this table, love this hardy wicker. The color matching perfectly with the daybed, which was here when we bought the house. This came from Ireland that we bought when we were doing the tour of heading to the Cliffs of Moher and we were driving through the Ring of Kerry. This was sort of being sold roadside. Vic's mom gave us these scripture quotes, which I love, and we can put big mugs of coffee on those out here. And then just having a little tray of glasses, coasters, you know, just some decorations. A lot of that came from.
But not too much.
But not too much. And I actually broke my rule of 3s because I went to 4 here, but that's only because we added the thing from Ireland. Okay, so the warmer colors here, and then over here, some of the blues that you see as well. So again, similar colors and keeping with the continuity of what's going on inside. But most important is comfort and cozy and finding things that speak to you and colors and textures, patterns. Make it yours, make it a conversation between you and your partner or husband or whomever you are with. Choose things together, make it fun. Vic and I had such a good time, didn't we, baby? Yes, we had such a good time putting all of this together, and we still do. You know, if we see a special piece when we're traveling or somewhere, you know, it's a co-decision and it's a story and it touches us, and we are grateful to be able to share all of this with you.